Hello everyone, I'm Sophie and I'm currently at Kechara Forest Retreat, Bentong, Malaysia. And today I'll be sharing from this book, Unleashing Buddhanature, Personal Accounts by Those Touched and Reformed through the Teachings of His Eminence the 25th Sam Rinpoche. And today I'll be sharing on the wrath of kindness. This is shared by Rinpoche's student, Peng Lee Kim. Let me share her picture with you. There you go. So it's page 78, The Wrath of Kindness, Peng Lee Kim. And this is a short write-up of her. Peng Lee Kim is the CEO of Kechara Media and Publications, but she is better known for braving haunted grounds as the host of the documentary TV series, The Paranormal Zone. Before embarking on a Dharma career, Lee Kim called herself a factory girl. She was in fact the director of operations and administration at a manufacturing plant for latex surgical gloves for 8 years. And here's her personal account. I sat in front of the wrathful Rinpoche and was amazed at myself. I did not walk away as I normally would have if anyone were to scold me like Rinpoche did. No one has yelled at me like that before. No one dared. Having come from a privileged background, I grew up being a brat. You know the saying, born with a silver spoon in the mouth. People always say that mine was a platinum, diamond-studded spoon. I made my own rules, and anyone who confronted my misconduct would soon find themselves at the losing end of the conversation. Sticking around to face the music was simply not my style. Yet here I was, fuming silently, but sitting still nonetheless, as Rinpoche opened fire at me in front of all his students. He called me the poster child of genitalia. I was half baffled, half offended. What did he mean? The rebuke started because I was trying to back out of my initial offer to be Rinpoche's personal assistant. I had discovered that the job required me to be on standby around the clock, and I was not ready for that kind of commitment, even though I was a 41 years old divorcee with 3 kids. I still love to have time to go out on dates and have romantic relationships. But calling me a poster child of genitalia, that's a rather harsh, not to mention odd kind of insult, no? This to me hit below the belt, but still I did not budge from my seat. And what kept me there was that behind Rinpoche's portrayed wrath, I could see his eyes. They were the kindest pair of eyes I have ever seen. Those were the same eyes that converted me into a true Buddhist 5 years ago. At that time, my identification card said I was a Buddhist. However, my devoutness only went as far as getting dragged by my grandmother to temples and holding my breath in the midst of joss stick smoke. My mother, on the other hand, was very involved with Kechara's work. In early 2009, she took the whole family to one of Kechara's puja sessions. There, we had the honor of being granted an audience with Rinpoche. We ended up chatting with him for hours. Throughout the meeting, I couldn't take my attention away from the compassion in Rinpoche's eyes. It had been a particularly turbulent time for me as I was in emotional tangles due to some bad decisions I had made. So I was yearning for a fix for my errors. Rinpoche's eyes touched this unruly brat's heart. Suddenly, it was clear to me that the only way I could reduce the damage of my bad decisions was to be a better person. And while there were many ways for me to improve myself, I could further my studies, I could attend motivational talks, I could open a new and successful company. But for some reason, I chose to get involved with Kechara. A mere few months after helping out with Kachara's activities, I was asked by Pastor Henry Uy if I was ready to take on the position of CEO for Kachara Media and Publications. I agreed. In December, I was made a liaison. All this happened within a year. It was as if I was on a Dharma speed train. Even the teachers in their school pointed out that they did not, oh, sorry. As a student of Rinpoche, it was impossible to observe how much Rinpoche gives to others daily without being inspired to strive to be compassionate as well. This party animal with little regard for anyone else began to see that the me, myself, and I party had become stale. One of my biggest lessons in putting others before my own interests was when my marriage was on the rocks. Being my impetuous self, I had decided to demand for a divorce without delay, but the suddenness of that decision would have hurt many people, most of all my ex-husband and my children, who were aged 6, 9, and 12 at that time. Rinpoche sat me down and told me not to continue with the divorce. He gave no reason, but I obeyed because I saw in him someone I could trust. I did not pursue the separation. The relationship between my husband and I did not improve, but it did not worsen either. My 3 boys then received a Manjushri statue from Rinpoche, who told me to put it in their room. I was then instructed to not interfere with whatever offerings my kids wanted to make to it. I persisted in the marriage for 18 months before having another talk with Rinpoche. This time, Rinpoche told me that while he did not wish to see any marriages break up, the time was right for me to make a decision on my marriage. A short while after that, my husband asked that we see a lawyer about divorce. But what surprised me most was how amicable the process was. We parted on very good terms and remained good friends to this day. Most amazingly, my 3 boys adjusted well to our separation. Even the teachers in their school pointed out that they did not exhibit any behavioral changes typical among children whose parents are breaking up. It hit me that the 18-month wait was not for me. The delay was for Rinpoche to spiritually prepare my children for the divorce and perhaps even soften the blow to my husband. I would have rushed into the separation without thinking much about the consequences, and it would have been ugly and damaging. My relationship with my kids and my ex would have been irreparable, even. Old habits die hard, however. My impetuousness still lurked within me, which led me to back out from my offer of becoming Rinpoche's personal assistant and culminating in the embarrassing position of sitting in front of Rinpoche while he called me the poster child of genitalia. I was on the hot seat of Rinpoche's wrath for 6 sessions, each lasting from evening until the next morning, and the other students had to stay up because of me. I was defiant and crying. Being a personal assistant would take up all my time, but I wanted to have time for relationships as well. What was so wrong about that? However, during Rinpoche's wrathful confrontation, he dug out a truth within me that I did not want to admit. The reason I craved romance, even though I just got out of a divorce, was because I felt unwomanly without a man. I had just hit 40 and I didn't feel attractive. The intimacy and attention from a boyfriend would validate my self-worth again. This was what Rinpoche meant by the poster child of genitalia. I was ruled by my desires below my belt. Rinpoche manifested his wrath to awaken me into seeing that I was already complete without a man. Only by acknowledging that I am whole will I achieve happiness. That was an indication of how much compassion Rinpoche has for me. To stop me from entering into relationships for the wrong reasons, he was willing to use 6 sessions of wrathful manifestations to bring me back to the right path. Any parent who has scolded a child before knows how tiring it is, and Rinpoche had to do it while ensuring that his words matched my volatile frame of mind so that as not to backfire. It worked. Something clicked in my mind, and I no longer felt the need to defend or pity myself. That was when the tears stopped flowing as well. Once I stopped crying, Rinpoche changed his tone and methods 180 degrees. His wrath was gone and his stance softened. I then realized why Rinpoche had to break me down with his wrath. This princess needed to be rattled so that she would sit up and see herself as she truly was. If he had been soft and gentle, his words would have flown over my head. Despite my flaws, Rinpoche saw the good in me. He also made me see it as well. And all the methods and trainings he imposed on me, painful as some of them were to make sure that the best of me is always dominant. And that was the sharing from Lee Kim. And as mentioned before, Rinpoche would go through any lengths to help his students, which is us, to overcome our own mind. And as with Lee Kim, Rinpoche worked to get to the root of her problem so that she understood and realized. And as such, she's overcome, or at least I think she would have overcome her inner battle, to be a better person. So thank you for sharing your time with me, and we'll complete this with a completion dedication in Tibetan. Giang dụ sen cho Rinpoche ma ke pa nam ge shi ke pa nam pa me pa yang go ni go du pe wa shu to ni to Rinpoche ma ke pa nam ge shi ke pa nam pa me pa yang go ni go du pe wa shu. Daso jenis apa gewadi tanandro wagona kampadang jepa jesu no santrapai tamping imborendo sa se sho kewa kuntu yanda lamadang drami choki pala lo choching sadam nangi yote razone doje changi ngopanga tuso gewadi yododa lamasang yodro yone drowa chike malupa de sala gopasho choki ka posonga pa chosu nampa pewala ke kisama siwadang tugi malu sawasho. Danam sengi do sundan, trewe songi latene, gewa la santrapai, tampa yuriva, gyushi, ni modele sendele, ni mingo nyandele she, ni sentatu dele pel, concho songi jingilo, concho songi ngodroso, concho songi trasi sho. Yeso lama kusen rapting ching, nam katrini chocho ke padang, losam tempe dro mi sapsongi, dro imun satato ni gyushi. Gang re rawe ko shin kam nem, benan deo malu go ine, chanren se one ten sing get songi, shape shiri badu deng gyushi. Hôm tông bình ngô trùng mà lục bà đến để đó là sau du số cô đàn đến bà lồng chợt nam cái bà số shik chụp tên cell. Thank you again for joining me, and please do join me as I move on to another student's story to share with you.